Hey folks, welcome back to Urban Farm Utopia, and it's a beautiful spring day here in eastern Tennessee. As you can see, the dogwood trees are in full bloom, and for us, the dogwood tree marks when it is safe for planting season here in East Tennessee. So with the flowers in bloom and a beautiful sunny day, we're going to put in some berry and fruit trees today. Today we're going to be planting our trees and berries from the basic root structure. You can buy these at any basic horticulture garden store. They usually come in just these little tiny plastic bags, and there's not much to these because these are just the basic roots that you're taking off of a cutting. So you're going to take off all your plastic wrapping as part of this, and you want to have a bucket of just kind of tepid water. It doesn't have to be cold or hot, just basic water, and you're going to soak the root for a little while. There's not really a prescribed amount of time. They say no more than about 2 hours, but in reality it's just kind of while you dig the hole. And at the same time, when you do mix the hole, you're going to want to mix in some basic garden soil with your plant to kind of give it a head start. Something like Miracle Grow or Scott's or something like this. Doesn't really matter what kind you use, but you want to have some basic organic matter and peat moss. We're going to be taking off all the wrapping material. And as you can see, what we have here is just kind of a basic root cutting. It's wrapped in some basic kind of sawdust, and we'll soak this guy in here while we go ahead and dig our hole. You don't have to dig the hole really deep here. It only needs about 8 or 10 inches deep. And here in this part of the country, we have a really high clay content, and so when you're planting it, you want to make sure that you bust everything up and kind of break the hole up in the soil to give those soft baby roots of plants to grow, or else you're essentially just planting your plant into a clay pot. And okay, we got our fig tree in, and fig trees are self-pollinating, so we only needed one of those. Now we're moving on to our berries. We're going to do our blueberries first. Now blueberries are not self-pollinating. They need to have at least 2 so they can cross-pollinate one another. Now you'll hear a lot of them talk about male and female. The flower will have both the male and the female plants in it, but it's just you need to have cross-pollination between it. So having 2 in there, we're going to space them about, I don't know, about 3 strides, 8-9 feet apart. And that should be plenty they need to thrive. With raspberry and blackberry bushes, spacing is really important. Not only between the plants themselves, but you want to make sure that you don't have your raspberries and your blackberries right next to each other. They kind of conflict with one another. They're so close that the cross-pollination isn't helpful. So we're doing our raspberries up here on one side of the hill. Up by our garden, we'll do our blackberries down another part of the yard. Alright, you can see we're about to put our blackberries in on the opposite side of the yard from the raspberries. That'll give them plenty of room and kind of separate one another, not get in each other's way. And the same basic concept, you're going to need 2 of these as well. They need to be able to interpollinate within each other. So blackberries next to blackberries need to have at least 2. And that'll make the fruit sweeter also when they cross-pollinate. So you definitely want to give them the ability to do that. Alright, so the last berry bush we put in today are elderberries. And elderberries are one of my personal favorites because I remember as a kid harvesting wild elderberries with my mother down in Florida. And they're a really bitter berry, and a lot of people don't grow them for several reasons. Number one, they're not the easiest to harvest. They're really tiny things, and they come in these big clumps. You got to break them off. It takes a little bit of time to harvest them. The other aspect of them is that a lot of people think they're toxic. And the truth is they are toxic if they're not prepared correctly. So when you harvest an elderberry, you don't just eat them raw. You gotta boil them for about 30 minutes, and that will boil off the toxin and make them safe to eat. But they are safe to eat. They're very good. They make a great pie, great cobbler, and a really great jelly. So I personally love elderberries. And we're going to be putting 2 of these in today, just like the other berry bushes. If they have cross-pollination, they'll be a better berry. You'll get a better yield. course, the last part of any transplanting is to water them into the soil. And the reason for this is multiple fold. Number one, the plant's a little bit of a shock, right? You've just taken out of its potting container, in this case the roots, and you've dug a hole, put it in it. You've damaged a whole bunch of the roots when you've done all that. And ultimately that's good because that'll spur new growth, but you want to kind of baby the plants along for the first few days, especially these root berries that we're putting in, because there's not a whole lot of root to that. So it doesn't have the ability to store a whole bunch of water in its roots to keep it going. You want to make sure that it doesn't suffer from any type of drought tolerance. So you're going to want to water these at least 3 times a week, 4 times a week for the first few weeks, kind of get them nursed through that initial transplanting, and then they'll be ready to go and produce berries. And so most berry bushes are not going to produce their first year. Probably going to see them in your second year, but by the third year they're really going to be going. So I'm going to go ahead and water these in, and next we'll be moving on to planting our garden seed. Yes, you're farm beagle, aren't you? Yes, farm beagle. Dad, my job is to keep the rabbits away. Okay, got our hills cut in for our watermelon, and our garden's starting to take shape. We're about to run some rows. We can start to plant some seed. Getting ready to put our seeds into the garden, and the key to success in any garden is, of course, spacing. So you want to make sure that you allow your tall climbers, things like okra and corn, to get a head start over your crawlers, things like squash, watermelon, pumpkin. And trick to that really is to just plant the tall ones first. We're going to be growing Three Sisters style corn, squash, and beans here in the front part of our garden. We'll plant our corn today, give it a couple weeks to germinate, get going on, then we'll come back in later, fill it in with our squash and beans. We're going to be growing it with spaghetti squash. We're going to have yellow squash and zucchini next to it. And then we'll have a couple rows of okra, some watermelon, some bush beans, tomatoes, and finally all the way in the back end back there, we're going to be putting cucumber on climbing string trellises. We're going to grow our cucumber vertically this year. So. All right, it's been a great day here at the Urban Farm Utopia. We got a lot of things planted in. We got all of our berry bushes put in, got our fig tree in, and we got our garden sown. So we're all ready for the rains to come, and we're planning for that this year. And before we get this closed down, I'm going to finish up. We got closing up all the seeds here. But one of the questions I get a lot is, what do I do to keep pests out of my garden? Things like birds and rabbits, to keep them from eating all my seed. And there's a couple things you can do. Number one, of course, put in a scarecrow, right? And this guy will stand here and kind of make him look like you. You can see that he has my hat from last year on, some of my old clothes, and that scent, of course, will keep away the rabbits also. Another thing you can do is you overseed your rows. So number one, put all your seeds in at once in one day, right? And then also overseed them, because the birds are going to come and eat some. You just can't stop it. But if you overseed and put them all out, eventually they're going to be full. They can't eat everything. So don't plant your rows kind of one at a time over a series of days. Put in everything all at once. And it's probably appropriate that we're planting on Palm Sunday here, because of course Jesus said the answer to all this, which is, some of your seeds are just going to burn up, some of your seeds are going to be eaten by birds, but the ones that take root and grow are going to give you a bountiful harvest. So hope you've enjoyed it today, and as the garden progresses and germinates and so this, we'll keep you updated.